Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I've been asked to share with you how I ended up being in this room with you this afternoon. Well, to be honest with you, it was by accident. When I left school at 16, which was many years ago, my ambition was to be a professional footballer. I was a schoolboy apprentice at the time with Watford and I played in goal. But as you can see from my height, I'm slightly short, and unfortunately that career died very quickly thereafter. So I ended up in the food industry, working in a manufacturing company shortly after I left school, and really did it just as a stopgap till I found something that I really wanted to do. I never looked back, really. I've been in the industry, as I say, since I left 16. I've been in food retailing as a technologist since way back in 1980. So really, I'm a bit like a stick of Blackpool rock. I'm a food retailer through and through. And what I thought I would share with you today is really two things. I thought I'd give you a brief history about John Lewis Partnership, talk about the ways of working within Waitrose, what our role is as a food technologist, and there are 30 of me within the technical and quality team at Waitrose, covering all areas of the products that we sell from an own label perspective. I'm going to talk about some of the key roles that we actually fulfill, because it is a very rewarding role in the industry. You are up the sharp end, you are in a very innovative arena as well. I'm going to talk about food safety and quality and the importance of it, the roles of food safety and food quality and what we do at Waitrose to protect our consumers, traceability and how important that is, and then sort of wrap the presentation up with some conclusions, because I am acutely aware that I am between you and lunch, so no pressure on me. But first of all, let me talk about John Lewis Partnership. I have to confess that I've only seen a snippet of tonight's TV ad, so I can't share with you any more than what I've seen so far. But £500,000, I hope it's good. The first John Lewis store opened up here in London in Oxford Street, and of course is still there, way back in 1864. Subsequently in 1928, John Lewis's son Spaden assumed full control of the company. And then a year later, and this is what makes John Lewis and Waitrose very different to our competitors out there in the marketplace, whether that's Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, Marks and Spencer's, Morrison's, is that we have no shareholders. We are not accountable to the City of London here. So we don't have large pension funds, major institutions, large insurance companies as our shareholders. I am a partner along with the other 6,000 partners that make up the partnership, say. So we work on a democracy. And then way back in 1937, John Lewis buys Waitrose. So this time last year, we were celebrating our 75th anniversary. For me, having worked in retail since, I said, ladies and gentlemen, since 1980, it is a very unique organisation, one that sets it out from our competitors. And somebody said to me a couple of weeks ago when I was at another conference which I was chairing, and described Waitrose in particular as being bomb-proof. And it doesn't seem to matter what we do, whatever we do, we seem to get it right and we appease our customers. Our founder's vision was very much around being honest, and that's a very old-fashioned word, but it's how we operate. It's give respect, not only to our fellow partners, but also to who we work with, so our suppliers. The need to recognise each other, to be able to show enterprise and be able to think outside the box and get recognition for that. We work very closely together as a team. So I form part of a business unit in the ambient grocery team. So I have 3 buyers, 2 product developers and myself, and we work together in a team. And it's this team that brought this fantastic range of new products in the Waitrose Cook's Ingredients range to the market, and as I say, they will be in branch in 6 days' time, so watch this space. And it's all about achieving more, go to the next level. What can we do next in terms of innovation that will actually make us stand out from our competitors? And I would say our 2 key competitors in the marketplace would be Sainsbury's and Marks and Spencer's. Those are our two competitors that we compete with head-on in the marketplace. We are growing market share. Our managing director's got a figure in his head of 10% is where he wants us to get to. We're sitting around about 6-7% at the moment, so we've got a long way to go still, but the way we are performing, we should achieve that. Fascinating figure I was told beginning of this year. In the 6 hours that the Waitrose branches were open on the Sunday before Christmas of last year, we did £5 million of sales in the branches. £30 million in 6 hours. That to me is some phenomenal figure. So what are our points of difference? As I've already alluded to, co-ownership. For those who are Waitrose shoppers, then I think you would agree with me, quality of product. And if you look at these products here, after my presentation during the lunch break, you'll see what I mean. Customer service. We live and die on customer service. And it's our store environment is paramount as well. It's the ambience of the store. It's the fact that if you go up to an assistant in the store and you can't find a particular product or a particular ingredient, they won't just say, oh, it's over there, madam, or it's over there, sir. They'll take you there, show you where it is, and then they'll ask, is there anything else I can do to help you? And that's how we train our staff in our branches. And it's all about being the best quality and most innovative food and wine retailer. The discounters are making terrific inroads into this food market in the UK. And certainly we've seen ourselves being benchmarked in the national papers when they've done comparisons between Waitrose products and Aldi products. And I have to say, ladies and gentlemen, we've not always won in those benchmarking exercises that have been conducted by the Daily Mail, for example. Sometimes we've lost out to Aldi. But what that makes us do is ever more determined to improve our product quality. And that's why I said on the last line of this presentation, quality, quality, quality. That's what we live and breathe by. So what do I do on a typical day? Well, this is my key responsibilities as a Waitrose food technologist. Technical responsibility and own the technical relationship with our suppliers. And my suppliers are located all over the world. And on one of the slides that I'll show you in a minute will give you a feel where I've travelled to. And we work very closely in business units, as I say. So we have different product categories. So we have the fruit category in fresh produce, wines in ambient and ready meals, and ready meals in fresh foods. As I alluded to, we work very closely with our buyers and product developers on bringing new products to the marketplace. New product development is what keeps us one step ahead of our competitors. It's what excites our customers, what excites our partners, is when we do things outside of the norm. And these products here today go some way to explain that. We take responsibility for specifications. So all these products here today have all got their own unique specification which we've drawn up and agreed with our suppliers. And they manage the product safety and the product quality standards. And they produce an internal document called Pack Copy. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a document that goes to the design team who then create the artwork for the products, which then creates the packaging in whatever shape or form that packaging is going to be. We have to ensure that products are launched to specification, but also maintained to specification as well. And we manage our suppliers and the product life cycle to ensure that they meet the Waitrose safety and quality standards and to ensure long-term security of supply. Those are some of the key responsibilities that all our food technologists, myself and my fellow partners within the quality and technical team would work to. This is our overall arching statement that we work on with how we're driving growth against efficiency, and also goes into some detail for you in the Waitrose ways of working across the different areas. And as you can see, nutrition, Love Life and the responsibility deal, we are signed up to that. Love Life is our healthy eating option, which goes across many parts of the business in terms of products. We are, as Chris alluded to, recognised by our customers as being an ethical retailer. We work very closely with the Ethical Trade Foundation. Waitrose has its own foundation as well. So we have our own farms in South Africa and Kenya. And we work with the farmers on the ground there to raise living standards for the workers on their farms, but more importantly, their families as well. So we ensure that they've got adequate accommodation. We ensure that children go to school. They have access to free medical care. They have access to free dental care. They are paid a living wage, a wage that enables them to live. So it's very key, the Waitrose Foundation, and we're always looking at how we can refine that. These are my product responsibilities within the ambient grocery team, and as you can see, I'm not going to go all the way through them, but it is very, very varied. These particular products fall under the heading of cooked ingredients, and it's somewhere in between a ready meal and cooking from scratch. So it's a huge range. Probably I've got one of the largest product category ranges within the ambient grocery team. The one product range that isn't on there, which I've just relinquished, and it's one of those situations where it was wrong place, wrong time, was medicines, which isn't the food, I think we would all agree, even though we do take some of the medicines orally. I've now relinquished that to a new technologist that's joined us from Superdrug, because he's got a background in that area. As I say, I only ended up with it by walking into the room at the wrong time. Having said that, my line manager recently left me a trade article on my desk when I was out of the office one day, which was talking about the boom in baby products, both food and accessories and clothing. And it turned out, ladies and gentlemen, that was her subtle hint to say, whilst you've lost medicines, Jonathan, guess what's coming round the corner? So where do my product categories take me? Well, this is a snapshot of where I go on my travels. In case I have passport, will travel. So most of the main member states of the European Union, USA including Alaska and Canada, Thailand, China, Singapore, South Africa and the Maldives. Anybody like to have a guess why I might go to the Maldives? What we might be buying from the Maldives?
Bananas.
No. Close? Not close. Anybody else? Thinking about it? No, not close.
Fish.
Yes. What type of fish? Variety.
Tuna.
Correct. Tuna. I've not been yet, but one of my predecessors been, and what he said to me was, Jonathan, if you ever go out there, you will look very conspicuous. In that you'll be surrounded by all these couples that are either on a romantic fortnight's holiday or they're on their honeymoon. And you will stick out. And what I used to say whenever I got talking to these couples was, my girlfriend left me at the airport, she dumped me. I can't really say that, as I've got a wife who I've been married to for 28 years, so I'll have to come up with another excuse. So tomorrow morning, ladies and gentlemen, I leave Terminal 5 at Heathrow for Spain. I fly to Madrid and arrive in the afternoon. I've got an internal flight that takes me to Barcelona. Monday morning, 8 o'clock, I'm being picked up by a driver. I've got to do a pre-approval audit to approve a new supplier for a Spanish sparkling wine, Cava. And before you ask, there is a waiting list of people who want to carry my bags on that trip. From there, on Monday evening, I fly to Seville, to the other side of Spain, and I spend all day Tuesday with our olive supplier, because we're looking to redevelop our range of olives in 2014. And then Wednesday, I fly back from Seville to Madrid, and then back to Terminal 5 and home on Wednesday evening. And that's a fairly typical week for me. If I counted up the number of days that I was actually in the UK in September, and it worked out to be about 6 days. So hence the terminology, have passport, will travel. It's a fascinating role. No 2 days are the same. There are always fresh challenges arising. And probably the biggest challenge that we face in food retailing is when we get the dreaded phone call on a Friday afternoon at 4:30, and it says, "Oh, good afternoon, Jonathan. My name is," and they introduce themselves. and I work for, and they say who their company is. We haven't spoken before, but I've got some information I need to share with you, which normally means that we've got a product withdrawal or a product recall on the cards. And it tends to happen when I promise my wife I'll be home early. It tends to happen as well, we were about to go on holiday, and 4 hours later I'm still in the office. Just out of interest, the most recent one I dealt with was on ground almonds, involving the main supplier here in the UK that processes and packs ground almonds. They'd done some testing on the raw material that had arrived and found traces of peanut protein. That then led to a full-blown product recall involving the Food Standards Agency and publication on the website, and our competitors, Asda, Sainsbury's and Tesco, all had to take that product off sale. We didn't with our own brand product because I had the good sense to put on the back an allergen warning, may contain traces of peanuts, nuts and other nuts. So if you want ground almonds, ladies and gentlemen, the only place you can get it at the moment is Waitrose. So how do we manage food safety and food quality? We're driven by policies and position statements. So my visit on Monday, I will take with me 3 or 4 defined policies. One will be on allergen management and how they control allergens. So the only allergen they're likely to be handling in the winery is sulfur dioxide, which is used as a preservative to prevent microbiological spoilage of the wine must. I will take a glass breakage policy for obvious reasons. I will take with me a general housekeeping and hygiene policy as well. So we live on policies and position statements because that's what helps us and our suppliers protect the Waitrose brand. We obviously monitor as a key KPI, key performance indicator, we monitor product complaints as well. Now for the nutritionists in the room, I had a very interesting product complaint come in to me earlier this week on our red lasagna sauce. Lady said in her email to customer services, I'm on a very strict dietary requirement. Can you tell me if your red lasagna sauce contains any tomato skin or pips? Why? Anyway, we responded. And then transversely we get the other one, which asks the question, why does your salt come all the way from Australia? And it turns out that it's cheaper and more efficient to have the salt dried in Australia using solar power, because obviously they have access to high levels of sun throughout the year, than it is here in the UK to dry it using fossil fuels. So that's the sort of diversity of product complaints we get. But it is an indicator as well when we start to see a trend of product complaints on the same product, maybe on the same date code, and it's the same type of issue. We obviously then look at incident management. So the product recall that took place on ground almonds, if we had been implicated, then we would have set up our incident management team and managed that through to fruition. We look at supplier compliance as well. Are our suppliers basically behaving themselves? Are they producing product to the right quality? Is it safe? Is it legal? Many products, particularly products which have compositional standards like meat products, for example, they have to meet a minimum meat content. So that's where the legal compliance comes in. We do quality monitoring as well. So I have a quality technologist that works with me very closely, and he does regular assessment, what we call post-quality inspections, to make sure that the product is compliant both with the specification, but more importantly, something we call a quality attribute sheet, which drills into what quality standards are that we have agreed with our supplier. So it will define maybe the colour, the flavour, the texture, the appearance, the aroma. the consistency of the product. So we've had some issues recently with our mincemeat. It's the one which has got 8% brandy in, where the brandy is actually having an effect breaking down the pectin in the vine fruit, and therefore it's becoming very, very runny. We've started to see a trend of customer complaints as customers are starting to buy it and use it in the run-up to Christmas, and that's triggered then us to delve into what's the reasons behind the problem, and we're now in dialogue with our supplier to see what can be done to improve the situation. Product information is key as well. Shopping on the internet is one of the key drivers for all food retailers. The one who's suffering probably the most at the moment because they don't have an internet offer is Morrison's, and that certainly was reported recently in some of their half-yearly results. So we have to provide on the internet, for the Waitrose.com website, all the product information so that they can buy the product knowing that it is safe. We have a risk management program in place that determines how often we test the product and how often we go to our suppliers. Unfortunately for risk manager and for my supplier in the Maldives, it seems to be every 3 years, so I've got another 18 months before I can go yet. Food safety, risks of contamination. The biggest risk obviously is microbiological and the effects that has on human health. I suffered food poisoning myself about 3 years ago, and I had Campylobacter food poisoning, which is an issue within the poultry industry, which the poultry industry, the retailers and the Food Standards Agency are working on to eradicate. They've eradicated salmonella from the poultry industry and the poultry flocks. The next on their agenda is Campylobacter. And it is a very radical way, ladies and gentlemen, of losing 1.5 stone in a week. And it turned out that what I actually consumed was undercooked chicken liver pate. And 4 days later, did I know about it. Ironically, about 6 weeks after I was taken ill, the Food Standards Agency and the Health Protection Agency published a report, and it said the biggest incident of Campylobacter food poisoning was chicken liver pate consumed in restaurants. Well, I could have told them that from my own experience. Food safety obviously then moves into food scares. So we've had way back in the 1990s salmonella in eggs and Wiener Curry's famous statement. More recently we've had the E. coli 0157 in sprouted seeds in Germany, BSE, and more recently this year Horsegate. What I can say in relation to Horsegate and Waitrose is we were not affected in any way whatsoever. And that's quite simply, ladies and gentlemen, is we have a very, very short supply chain. We have 3 dedicated meat suppliers. We have one on beef, one on pork and lamb, and one on poultry. And if those dedicated suppliers also then supply the basic raw material to our ready meal suppliers, to our sausage manufacturers, to our bacon supplier, so we have a very, very tight rein on where our beef, pork, lamb and poultry comes from. And that's why, in relation to Horsegate, we were not implicated compared to some of our other competitors and some of the manufacturers. Anybody familiar with the acronym HACCP? For those who are not, HACCP stands for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points. And it was developed way back in the 1960s, in the run-up to the Apollo moon missions. And it was a joint program between NASA and the Pillsbury Corporation. Because the biggest fear that NASA had was that astronauts en route to the moon and back would develop food poisoning. And you wouldn't want food poisoning in a weightless environment, would you? It just doesn't bear thinking about. So HACCP looks at the risk associated with the manufacture of the food and what controls are in place to prevent what that risk is occurring. So when I'm in Spain on Monday at the Cava winery, I will be looking at their 3 critical control points that they've identified in their process. One will be the inversion of the bottles prior to filling, where they either inject the bottle upside down with either compressed air or water to remove any physical contamination that might be present in the bottle. The next one I'll be looking at is glass filling, when they fill the bottle and apply the cork to make sure there's no risk of glass breakage occurring, and if so, what controls do they have in place. And then finally, also what levels of sulfur dioxide they've actually added to the wine, because there are legal limits in place which they have to comply with, which are laid down by the European Union. Those are the three critical control points that they've identified, which I concur with. What I will be doing on Monday is seeing what they actually do to manage that process. To prevent Waitrose and any other retailer or any other food manufacturer appearing in court, then we all have due diligence systems in place, and it's all about taking reasonable precautions. So that's why Waitrose and Sainsbury's and Tesco employ people like me, so that we can help that companies develop due diligence systems. So we record all our visits, we do visit reports, we record all our product testing on the analysis that we do using an external laboratory to make sure that the product is compliant. And we have to have confidence in our supply chain and our suppliers that they are doing the right thing. So the selection process to become a Waitrose supplier means that they have to jump over, as a new supplier, lots of hurdles and satisfy us before we actually will give them the big tip. Food quality, something which I've already alluded to in my presentation. It's all about the wholesomeness and characteristics of the food products. So when we developed this new range of Cook's ingredients, that featured very highly in our programme. We also looked at the emerging trends out there in the industry as well, and in the market, and what consumers and celebrity chefs are doing new. Waitrose works with Heston Blumenthal and also works with Delia Smith as well. And Heston Blumenthal, as you know, is slightly off the wall, a bit wacky. So for any technologies in Waitrose who's got a Heston Blumenthal product in their portfolio, it's always challenging. Some of the interesting products that we've got within the Heston Blumenthal range are gin with Earl Grey tea. We did used to sell horseradish and mustard ice cream, which wasn't as a dessert, it was used as an accompaniment to your main meal. Unfortunately, our customers didn't quite see it like that, and it flopped. I've only got one product, fortunately, which is a chocolate sauce with espresso notes, and it is to die for. It's about 85% cocoa solids. I'm sorry. You can just eat it out of the jar. It's that indulgent. And it's what the inches add to your waistline and the pounds add on. But it is to die for, ladies and gentlemen. And it's brilliant with Christmas pudding. We also have just about gone into branch in recent weeks, a Heston Blumenthal hidden chocolate Christmas pudding, which has got a runny centre. It is fantastic. As you can tell, I love chocolate. I'd be no good in a confectionery factory because I would just eat myself to death. We obviously rely very heavily on freshness and the freshness of our ingredients that go in. And as I say, we are a big supporter of British, so we will use British ingredients wherever possible. Waitrose has its own farm as well, down in the Hampshire countryside, where we have our own organic dairy herd. We have a mushroom farm and packing house. We have orchards growing apples and pears. And for me, within my portfolio, we do a cold press rapeseed oil. There are 400 acres on the 4,000 acre farm estate down in Hampshire that are set aside to growing rapeseed. That gets cold pressed and bottled on the farm itself, and then the byproduct, the cake as it's called, gets fed back then as a supplement to the organic dairy herd. We raise broiler hens as well for poultry production, so it's an interesting operation, and you can also stay there as a partner as well. We conduct internal product assessment to ensure that our products comply both with the specification and our quality attribute sheet. We undertake external product analysis with 2 external laboratories to make sure that they comply from a legal perspective as well. And as I alluded to, we have product specifications. Clearly, retailers' acceptance of new products is the values on food products. Are they actually going to give us value for money and value on return of investment? Is the customer going to pay for the product? Is there a willingness to pay for this product? What are their expectations? What do they expect the product is going to do to them? Can it comply with the specification consistently? Are we not going to see unacceptable levels of complaints? Has the risk assessment been undertaken, ensured that there's no inherent risk to the Waitrose brand and our customers? And what is the country of origin? Can we source it within the UK, or do we have to go overseas? We then look at it from the consumer's acceptance. Food safety is clearly something which our customers are acutely aware of within Waitrose, and they will look at that quality versus price. What's the producer's perspective? What's their understanding of what our consumers want? The impact of media on consumer acceptance. We all saw what Horsegate did on ready meals and value-added products. They declined in sales dramatically, almost overnight. And then clearly we have to take into account pressure groups, non-government organisations and their perspective, and what's actually on their agenda as well. I've talked about Horsegate. These are some of the recent issues that I'm aware of. Adulteration of herbs and spices. Because of the political situation in Syria, which is one of the countries that grows the largest amount of cumin, we've identified that other countries are supplying cumin, which is ground cumin, which is being bought out with wheat flour. So anybody in this room that uses that product and is a celiac, intolerant to gluten, then clearly that will make you very ill. The innovative Chinese have come up with synthetic rice, which is manufactured from sweet potato, pet potato, plastic and resins. The only thing you can guarantee about that product is it will stay al dente. And an ongoing issue which involves other government departments, apart from the Food Standards Agency, is Her Majesty's Customs and Revenue, is counterfeit spirits, counterfeit vodka, which is made and contains high levels of methanol, which will either kill you if you consume it, seriously blind you, or give you serious brain injuries. So it's a real issue. Traceability. Traceability is a legal requirement. So it's vital to both retailers and consumers that we know where our products are coming from and the ingredients that go into our products, where they're coming from. So we will do a traceability study whenever we go to a supplier. So we would go into a branch, pick up this product, for example, take it to the manufacturer and ask them to show us all the paperwork right back to the source of origin where the Cascabel chilies came from. So there's a need for confidence and trust on food safety standards, which is demanded by our customers and demanded by Waitrose. We have to have safe and reliable food sources, ingredients and finished products. And we have to look at the requirements of the Food Standards Agency and, more importantly, the European Food Safety Agency laid down on us as well. This is what we do. So we work with established suppliers. So we have lots of established suppliers with very long-term relationships. We have approved raw material suppliers. So my supplier for these products also supplies herbs and spices that goes into this product. We have that continuity of supply. All our suppliers have to have an external certification scheme, which is either run by the British Retail Consortium or the International Food Standard. There has to be honesty and trust. It goes without saying. We have strict product specifications in place. We do regular visits, as I've already alluded to. We have agreed product specifications, policies and procedures in place, and we conduct regular product analysis and quality assessment. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, it's a fantastic job. I've been doing this for 30 years. If I didn't think so, I wouldn't be standing here today. And it's a brilliant way of seeing the world at somebody else's expense. So it's all about consumer confidence and the need for it to be maintained, confidence in our supply chain, and looking forward to the next steps. As I've already demonstrated to you, we have at Waitrose less complex supply chains than many of our competitors. Our product testing, no doubt, will increase as more challenges are confronted by us, and no doubt we will do more challenging audits of the supply chain by all involved, and without any shadow of a doubt there's going to be more EU regulations on food safety going forward. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed.